everyone, welcome to TriRide. This is Pack 365, myself Srija. So today in this session you are going to learn about the male reproductive system. So what is male reproductive system? So what does the system do and why are these functions important? You are going to learn about these in this session. So introduction to the male reproductive system. So male reproductive system, it is a group of organs that work together to make sperm, produce male hormones and enable the reproduction. So what does the male reproductive system do? It makes sperm, which are the male reproductive cells. So it stores and matures sperm until they are ready. So it delivers the sperm into the female reproductive system during the sexual intercourse. So it produces the male hormones, especially testosterone, which controls the male characteristics. So why are these functions important? So they help in fertility, which is the ability to have the children. So they support the sexual function, they help continue the human species, and also they maintain the overall reproductive health. So what are the main parts of the male reproductive system? So the primary sex organs are the testes. So testes are the two oval-shaped organs in the scrotum. They produce the sperm and testosterone, which is the main male hormone. So testosterone, it is responsible for the male features like deep voice, muscle growth and facial hair. So next is the duct system, the tubes that carry the sperm. So these tubes, it helps the transport sperm from the testes to outside of the body. So duct system, it includes epididymis, vas deferens and urethra. So epididymis, it stores and matures the sperm. Vas deferens, it carries the sperm during the ejaculation. Urethra, it's a final tube through which the semen leaves the body. So what are the axillary glands? So they add the fluid to sperm to make the semen, like semen vesicles, prostate gland, bulbourethral glands. So these glands, they add the nutrients for sperm, like fructose. So what are the protective fluids? So together sperm plus fluids is called as the semen. So next is the external genitalia. So what is the external genitalia? Penis, which helps to deliver the semen into the female body, and also scrotum, which holds the testes and keeps them cool, which is important for the sperm production. So what is the role in secondary sexual characteristics? So the male reproductive system, it also helps in the development of male body features during the puberty, such as the deeper voice, body and facial hair, increased muscle mass and Adam's apple. So all these changes are due to the testosterone hormone. So these are the pictures of the male reproductive system. So the diagram shows the both a side view and as the front view. So this is the side view, the first one, left image, and the right image, it's a front view of the male reproductive organs. So these organs work together to produce the sperm, make male hormones, as well as deliver sperm during the reproduction. And here you can see the testes picture in this. So this is located inside the scrotum. So this part is called as the scrotum. Okay. So this testis produces sperm as well as testosterone. And here it is epididymis. So it's a long coiled tube on top of each testis. So this is the place where the sperm matures and gains the ability to swim here. And next is the vas deferens, the ducts. These are the ducts. So this is a thick tube which carries mature sperm from the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct. So it works as a transport highway for the sperm. And here is a seminal vesicle. So this gland located behind the bladder, it adds nutrient-rich fluid to the sperm. And next to seminal vesicle, you can find the prostate gland. This is located below the bladder. This is the urinary bladder, right? So below the bladder, you can see the prostate. It adds a milky alkaline fluid to the semen. So this helps the sperm survive the acidic environment in the female reproductive tract. And then you can see the bulbourethral gland. So these are the two small glands below the prostate gland. So it releases a clear secretory fluid before the ejaculation. So next is the ejaculatory duct. So it formed by the joining of the vas deferens and the seminal vesicle duct. It allows the sperm and fluids to enter the urethra. And next is the urethra over here. So it is a tube that passes through the penis. It carries both urine and the semen. And next is penis. This is glans penis and this is penis. So penis, it delivers the semen into the female body. It contains corpus cavernosum and also the corpus spongiosum. So corpus cavernosum, it helps in erection, whereas corpus spongiosum, it surrounds the urethra. So the end part is called as the glans penis. So how semen is formed? Testes make the sperm. Sperm matures in the epidermis. So travels through the vas deferens. Seminal vesicles add nutrients. Then prostate add the protective fluid. And Cowper's glands, they add the lubrication. And at last, the mixture which is called as semen, it is released through the urethra during the ejaculation. So now let's talk about these organs of the male reproductive system. So what are the primary sex organs? They are the testes. So testes, they are also called as the gonads. So testes are the most important organs of the male reproductive system because they make the sperm, which is a male reproductive cell, and also the testosterone, which is a main male hormone. So where this testis is located, I have shown you in this picture. The testes are found inside a skin pouch called as scrotum. So they hang outside the body, which is attached by the spermatic cord. So why are the testes outside the body? So sperm need a cooler temperature to form properly. So the scrotum keeps the testis 2 to 3 degrees Celsius cooler than the body. So this cooler temperature, it is essential for the healthy sperm production. So what is the structure of the testis? So you can see in this picture, each testis has 3 covering layers. So tunica albuginea, so tunica vaginalis and tunica vasculosa. So what is tunica vaginalis? It is the outer protecting covering. So it's a thin serous fluid secreting membrane. It helps to reduce the friction during the movement. And next is the tunica albuginea. It's a tough white fibrous capsule, very strong. It protects the delicate inner parts. So it sends the partitions inside the testes that divide the into lobules. So the next is tunica vasculosa. So tunica vasculosa, it's a vascular layer which contains many blood vessels. It lies just under the tunica albuginea and it also provides the blood supply to the sperm production. So now what is the internal arrangement of the testis? So internal arrangement, so inside the testis, there is a several important structures which are the tubes that is a site of spermatogenesis, meaning this is where the sperm are produced. So inside each seminiferous tubules, there are different cells which helps to sperm develop. So sperm start at the outer edge and move towards the center as they mature. So seminiferous tubules, they lead to retrotestis and they lead to efferent ductules and they lead to epididymis. So the next is the so inside these tubules there are tertiary cells which support the sperm formation and as well as the germ cells which develop into the sperm. So what is retrotestis? You can see over here. So this is a network of tubules that collect the sperm from the seminiferous tubules. So it functions like a transport hub. So the next is efferent ductules. You can see here. So these are the tiny ducts that connects the retrotestis to the epididymis. So their job is to move sperm forward. So epididymis, this is also, although this is not a part of the testis, is a pink color, right? So it is closely attached. So it has 3 parts: head, body and tail. So the sperm mature, it gains the ability to swim and it is stored here. So the next is spermatic cord. So the spermatic cord, it contains both the vas deferens and as well as the blood vessels. And next is pamperiform plexus. So this is a network of veins that cools the blood entering the testis. It helps to maintain the lower temperature necessary for the sperm production. So now let's talk about the cells of the testis. So testis, it contains many small compartments called as lobules. So within the lobules, each testis has 200 to 300 lobules. So every lobule, it contains 1 to 4 seminiferous tubules, which are long coiled tubes. So seminiferous tubules are also called as the sperm making factory. So these tubes, they are the site of spermatogenesis, meaning this is where the sperm are produced. So the first is Sertoli cells, which are nurse cells. So these are the tall supporting cells which are found inside the seminiferous tubules. So what are the functions of the Sertoli cells? They support and nourish the developing sperm. It creates the blood-testis barrier. It also protects the sperm from harmful substances and the immune system. It secretes the inhibin. It helps to regulate the sperm production. So it produces the androgen and binding protein, which is called as ABP. It helps to concentrate the testosterone in the tubules, which is needed for the sperm development. So you have to think of the Sertoli cells as the caretakers that protect and feed the developing sperm. So next is the Leydig cells. So Leydig cells are also called as the testosterone factories. So these are located outside the tubules. You can clearly see in this picture, this is a lumen. Here it is Sertoli cell, which is inside the seminiferous tubules, and Leydig cells, which are outside the tubules. So in the interstitial space, this is the interstitial space, right? Yeah. So this Leydig cells, the main job is to produce the testosterone. So testosterone, it is essential for the male reproductive development, secondary sexual characteristics, and as well as the sperm production. So now what are the stages of the sperm development? So the right side, you can see the picture over here. These are the stages of the sperm development. So as we move from the outer wall to the center of the tubule, the cells become more mature. So the first stage is spermatogonium, which is the outermost. So here the stem cells that start the process, they divide by the mitosis. And next is the primary spermatocyte. So primary spermatocyte, it enters the meiotic division 1. And then secondary spermatocyte, after meiosis 1, it goes through meiosis 2. And then the spermatid. So these are the round cells that begin to develop the tail line shape. And finally, spermatozoa, which is a sperm. This is a fully developed one. So it is found in the lumen, which is the center. So it is ready to move towards the epididymis. So this diagram shows a step-by-step transformation from a primitive cell to a mature sperm. So next is a duct system of male reproductive tract. So after sperms are produced inside the testis, they must travel through a series of tubes before they leave the body. So these tubes, they form the duct system. So the main ducts are efferent ductules, epididymis, and vas deferens. So let's explain each one into briefly. So the first is efferent ductules. So these are the short ducts that connect the rete testis to epididymis. So what is the function? It carries the sperm from the testis to epididymis. So it is lined with the ciliated cells. So the cilia is nothing but tiny head-like structures. They beat and they carry the sperm from the testis to the epididymis. It pushes the sperm forward. They also helps to absorb the excess fluid. Next is epididymis. It's a sperm training and storage center. So this is a long coil tube which is located on the back side of each of the testes. So it has three parts: the head, body, and tail. Head, what does it do? It receives the sperm from the efferent ductules. Body, it is the place where major maturation happens. And tail, it is the main storage area where the sperm stay here until the ejaculation. So what are the functions of the epididymis? So the sperm maturation, the sperm entering the epididymis are immature and it cannot just swim. So during their journey, they learn to swim forward, fertilize and egg, and also to develop the proper structure. Second function is the sperm storage. So sperm are stored mainly in the tail. So absorption of fluid, this helps to concentrate the sperm. And easy way to remember is the epididymis is the school plus hostel for the sperm. So the next part is vas deferens. So also called as the ductus deferens. So this is a long muscular tube which is greater than 45 centimeter long. So it starts at the tail of the epididymis. It travels upward and eventually joins the duct of the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. So what is the function? It transports the sperm by strong muscular contractions. So this movement is called a peristaltis, which is a wave-like muscle action. So here is a diagram. So it shows the seminiferous tubules where sperms are produced, and epididymis, it's a head, body and tail, which are hugging the testis, and the vas deferens, it is extending upward. So this shows how the sperm flow upward even though they are produced below, thanks to the muscular contractions. So the next part is ejaculatory duct. So ejaculatory duct, what is it? So it is a short tube formed when the vas deferens plus duct of seminal vesicles combine. So where does it go? It passes through the prostate gland. It opens it to the prostatic urethra. So what is the function of the ejaculatory duct? It carries the sperm and the seminal vesicle fluid into the urethra before the ejaculation. So urethra male, which is common tube for urine and semen. So urethra, it is a long tube that runs from the bladder to the outside of the body. So what are the two functions of urethra? One is for passage for urine and the other function is passage for semen. So there are four parts of male urethra: the preprostatic urethra, prostatic urethra, bulbar urethra, and membranous urethra. You can clearly see in this picture the parts of the urethra. So preprostatic urethra. So it is just below the bladder neck. It controls urine fluid with the internal sphincter. And then there is a prostatic urethra. It passes through the prostate gland. It receives the openings of the ejaculatory ducts. And then is membranous urethra. It is the shortest and narrowest part. It passes through the urogenital diaphragm and it is surrounded by the external urethral sphincter, which has a voluntary control. And the last urethra is the spongy urethra, spongy or penile urethra. So this is the longest part. It runs through the penis. It opens outside at the urethral meatus. So this diagram, besides parts of the urethra, it also shows a type of epithelium in each region. So it's a urothelial cell epithelium near the bladder and it is made up of pseudostratified or stratified columnar epithelium at the middle part of the urethra, and the penile or meatus end is made up of stratified squamous epithelium cells. So now what are the axillary sex glands? What are the extra fluid producers? So axillary glands add fluids to semen to nourish and protect the sperm. So what are those? Seminal vesicles. So where the seminal vesicles are located? These are the paired, elongated glands behind the bladder. So what is the function? It produces 60 to 70% of the semen volume. The fluid contains fructose, which gives energy for sperm. It is an alkaline fluid which neutralizes the acidic vagina. It has prostaglandins which help the sperm to move, and also it has the clotting factors and proteins. So this helps to the sperm to coagulate briefly after the ejaculation. So seminal vesicles are nothing but they are the nutrient factory for the sperm. So what is prostate gland? So prostate gland is one of the male axillary sex glands and it plays a major role in producing the semen. So what is a prostate gland? It is a walnut-sized gland located below the bladder. It surrounds the prostatic urethra, which is the first part of the male urethra. You have to think this prostate gland as a ring-shaped gland which is wrapped around the urethra. And what is the anatomy of the prostate gland? The base is the superior part. So this is the upper portion of the prostate. It is located next to the bladder neck. So the apex part, it is the inferior part. It is the lower pointed end which lies above the urogenital diaphragm. So there are three zones of the prostate. So the prostate is divided into zones and each zone has a clinical importance. So the first zone is peripheral zone, which is the largest zone. So most common site of the prostate cancer, it is located towards the back posterior, which is why cancer can be felt during the rectal exam. And the second zone is the central zone. So central zone, it surrounds the ejaculatory duct, so less commonly affected by a disease. And the third zone is transitional zone. It surrounds the prostatic urethra. It is a main site of benign prostatic hyperplasia. It is commonly enlarges in the older men, causing urinary problems. So what are the secretions of the prostate? The prostate, it contributes 20 to 30% of the semen volume. So what does it secrete? It secretes enzymes like PSA. PSA is nothing but prostate specific antigen. So this antigen, this enzyme, it helps to liquefy the semen after ejaculation. So it is important for the sperm to move freely. And it also secretes zinc, which protects sperm and stabilizes the DNA. It produces citrate, which provides energy for the sperm. So now why are these secretions important? Because they improve the sperm motility, nothing but the movement of the sperm, and it also helps the sperm to survive in the female reproductive tract. And here is a diagram which shows the prostate gland anatomy. And you can see the seminal vesicle here, ampulla of the ductus deferens, ejaculated duct, prostatic urethra, prostatic utricle, and also the base and apex of the prostate. So this helps you to visualize how the ejaculated duct passes through the prostate and how it opens into the prostatic urethra. So this is where the sperm plus fluids mix before the ejaculation. So next is external genitalia. So what are the external genitalia? And the bulbourethral glands. So bulbourethral glands, these are the also called as Cowper glands. So these are the small paired P-shaped glands located deep in the perineal region. So what are the functions of the bulbourethral glands? They secrete the alkaline mucus that helps to neutralize the acidic urethra. So the urine leaves behind acidity in the urethra. This mucus makes the urethra safe for the sperm. So it also lubricates the urethra during ejaculation. Nothing but it reduces the friction. It helps the sperm travel smoothly. And coming to external genitalia, it is penis. So penis has two functions, urination as well as the copulation, which is a sexual intercourse. So now what is the structure of the penis? So penis has three erectile tissues which fill with blood during erection. So the first one is carpus cavernosum, which is a paired two column, and the second is carpus cavernous spongiosum, which is single one column, and this carpus cavernosum, it is located on the dorsal, nothing but the upper side. So these are the main tissues responsible for the erection. So this filled with the blood through which the penis becomes firm. And carpus spongiosum, it runs along the underside, like it surrounds the spongy urethra. So it prevents the compression of the urethra during the erection. So this corpus spongiosum, it ensures the semen and urine can pass. So what are the parts of the penis? Root, body and glans penis. So in this picture you can find root, this is a shaft and this is glans. So root, it anchors the penis to pelvic bones, whereas body, it is the main visible portion, and glans penis, it is an expanded tip. So how does blood is supplied to penis? Through arterial supply from internal pudendal artery. So and venous drainage through deep dorsal vein. So blood flow is essential for the erection mechanisms. So here there is a diagram which shows you the flaccid penis and erect penis. So diagram shows two conditions. So in the flaccid penis, the blood vessels are narrow. So there is a very little blood which enters the corpora cavernosa. Urethra is open normally over here. Whereas in erect penis, the arteries dilate, they become wider, so that the more blood enters. So cappa cavernosa, it fills with the blood. You can clearly see these arteries are increased in this picture. So veins get compressed so that blood cannot leave easily and penis becomes firm. So urethra is slightly compressed but carpus spongiosum keeps it open. So this is the easy way to remember the difference between the flaccid penis and erect penis. So the top diagram, it shows you about the bladder, prostate gland over here, seminal vesicles and the openings of the urethral gland, penis, shaft, the corpus spongiosum and corpus cavernosum in this picture. So next is scrotum. So what is scrotum? It is a muscular skin covered sac that holds the testes outside the body. So why outside the body? Because we have already discussed this point. Because the sperm needs a temperature 2 to 3 degrees Celsius lower than the body temperature. So the scrotum works like a natural cooling bag for the testes. So what are the layers of the scrotum? From outside to inside, it is a skin, dartos muscle, external spermatic fascia, cremaster muscle, internal spermatic fascia and tunica vaginalis. So skin, it is thin and pigmented. Dartos muscle, it is a smooth muscle which makes the skin to contract or relax depending upon the temperature. And then the external spermatic fascia, it's a connective tissue layer. And cremaster muscle, it's a skeletal muscle, so it helps to maintain the proper temperature. And the internal spermatic fascia, it is a deeper connective tissue. And tunica vaginalis, it's a serous fluid which covering around the testis to reduce the friction. So what are the functions of this scrotum? It regulates the temperature of the testis. So when it is cold, the dartos plus cremaster muscles, they contract, so the testis move up and closer to the body. So during hot temperature, the muscle relaxes so that the testis hang lower to cool down. So this protects and supports the testis. And then coming to spermatic cord. So what is spermatic cord? It is a bundle of tubes and nerves that connect the testis to the abdomen. It runs from deep inguinal ring to the testis. So what are the contents of the spermatic cord? The vas deferens, which is a tube that carries sperm from testis to the urethra. And a testicular artery, it supplies oxygen-rich blood to the testis. And pampiniform plexus, which is called as veins or venous, it's a network of veins surrounding the artery. So this cools the arterial blood entering the testis, which acts like an AC system. And nerves. So nerves, this is mainly genitofemoral nerve branches. They help the cremaster reflex. So lymphatics, they drain the lymph from the testis to keep it healthy and infection free. So what are the functions of the spermatic cord? It supports the structures going to or from the testis. Like it carries all the blood vessels, nerves, lymphatics, and as well as the vas deferences. So it also helps in temperature control like heat exchange. Like pampiniform plexus, it cools the warm arterial blood, as well as it also helps to maintain the optimal temperature for sperm production. So this is about the spermatic cord. And in this picture, you can see clearly the cremaster muscle over here, the pampiniform plexus, testicular artery, vas deferences and testicle. These are all the contents of the spermatic cord. And this is for today's session. I hope the session has helped you. So in the next session, you will be going to learn about the physiology of male reproductive system. Thank you.